everybody. This is Suvarshila, working as an associate professor in Institute of Aeronautical Engineering in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. In the last session, we discussed about the levels of abstraction. That is how the data is hidden from various levels of users internally. So there we discussed three levels of abstraction: physical level, logical level, and view level. And also we discussed that view level users need not know what is going on at logical level. Similarly, logical level users need not understand, need not worry about how the data was stored internally in the secondary storage device. That is at physical level. Because of this type of abstraction, the database is enjoying this data independence concept. What is this data independence? Data independence means here, if any modifications have been made at one level of these three abstractions, the next higher levels applications need not be rewritten. That is the independence. Independence means at each level, whatever they are doing, changes or modifications, etc., it is independent of the other levels. These modifications need not reflect already existing applications or already developed applications, because each level is independent of the other levels. We don't know what happens in the next lower level. That's why we will develop as we are independent actually. This is a very important and concept of this database management system. This independence is categorized. Data independence means modification of data or schema, whatever it may be, at one level does not reflect rewriting of the existing applications in the next higher levels. It is categorized into two categories: physical data independence, logical data independence. Physical data independence means the modifications are going to be done at physical level. That doesn't reflect the next, what is the next higher level? Conceptual level. It doesn't reflect how this conceptual level data is going to be, need not be rewritten actually. That is physical data independence, the ability to modify the physical schema without changing the logical schema. We need not, already existing applications of logical schema need not be changed. Even existing schema of logical schema need not be modifiable. Independently, physical schema can be modified. Physical schema can be modified means a new indices can be added, new records are going to be, structures are going to be developed, or internal representation of any word wrapping, etc., can be done by us. All these things can be added at any time, which doesn't reflect the applications which are developed at the logical schema. That is known as physical data independence. Physical data independence means the ability to modify physical data schema without changing or without reflecting, without making any rewriting or rewritten of the logical schema again. The previous one automatically holds good. The second category of independence is logical data independence. Logical means at the middle level, conceptual level. So if you are making any changes at conceptual level, what is the next higher level? View level. The next higher level applications need not be rewritten again. For example, in railway reservation system, I developed various applications, reservation, cancellation, etc. And I created already some tables and schemas were created by us. A new station was introduced. When the new station was, or a new trains or new routes were introduced, then schema at logical level is going to be changed automatically. But it doesn't reflect already developed applications. That reservation, etc., some applications we already developed now, those need not be rewritten. Automatically it will be acceptable actually. So that's why logical data independence means the ability to modify the logical schema without changing the view or external schema is termed as a logical independence. Because of this, in databases, whatever the changes at any level which we are making, already existing programs or a software need not be modifiable. Right? So, because of this independence only, this is happening actually. Applications depends on the logical schema. In general, the interface will be there between. This interface will take care of this. If any changes are made at logical schema, between view level and the logical schema, an interface will be there. That interface will take care of these modifications are going to be reflected, how the transformations are going to be done. Right? So these interfaces will define whatever the changes are made, how these changes can be reflected properly in already existing applications actually, if they are seriously influence that application actually. That means whenever changes are made, the mappings are going to be changed, but not the schema. Mappings are going to be changed. That means if I added some routes or some new stations, etc., mapping to the applications are going to be changed, but these applications need not be rewritten by us. That means a database is there, new hardware, any already existing database is there. We can add users, new users can be added, new data can be added, new functions can be added, new hardware can be added. Similarly, users' views can be added, new storage devices can be added, new linking can be other with other databases can be done, and change the technology also sometimes can be get changed. The transformations can be done. Whatever you want, you can do. New things can be introduced, but already existing things need not be again rewrite. If it is that instead of using the existing one, it's better to create a new one by us actually. I'll give you a small example which is known to us generally. Your student data file is there. This student is initially have, let us assume that this is a table was created. Of course, this is a structured specification was there, but which you may understand still SQL was not discussed. So this student table consists of hall ticket number, name, address, course initially. Only these four attributes are there. I defined the student table like this by initially. That means we 1, 2, 3, 4. These four fields are there initially. When I am going to write a query, right? Student table consists of, this is the schema. This is the structure, no? So schema will be written like this. Student of hall ticket number, name, address and course. So these attributes, whatever the attributes we are having, these attributes are going to be initially selected. When I am using the select star from student means I'll get only these four attributes data initially. Now you observe the another one, phone. New phone number was added at the time of creation. That is at logical schema. This is done at a logical schema. At logical level, a phone was added. After that also, if I am giving the same query is the same. Select star from student only. It need not be changed. I'll get previously only these three. After that, I'll get this phone number also. Initially, I got only number, hall ticket number, name, and address, course. But this, after adding this, again, if I re-execute this statement, that is SQL statement, then automatically that was added. I need not rewrite again my query by using differently. That means whatever the modifications we have made at logical level means at schema level. At schema level, whatever the changes made, that need not made us to rewrite my applications. No need to write already rewrite application. New applications, it's okay. But existing application, no need to rewrite actually. By using such type of logical independence, data independence, physical data independence and logical data independence, already existing applications of data are very much implementable, even some changes are made actually. To access this data or to create this database, etc., database languages are introduced. That is, database software is there, no? So that is database languages. Using these database languages, we can create and manage our databases. Basically, these database languages are categorized into three categories, but certain languages are considered as the fourth category also. The first category is data definition languages, DDL we will call it as. The second category is data manipulation languages, DML. The third one is query languages, QL. And the last one is DSDL we will call it as a data storage and data definition languages. So the first one, what is DDL? Basically, we are considering these four categories, but in commercial languages, all are included in a single language also. That we'll discuss further. The first type of languages are DDL, the data definition language. The term itself indicates us these language statements are used to define our databases. To define our databases means to define the structure. So to define the structure means this is a creation of table. Similarly, you may create schema or you may create some index. Like that, these are to define our database. We will define means we are creating only structure. So language is there means it has to be compiled. That means DDL compilers will be there. After creating this, these are going to be compiled. DDL compiler will generate two outputs. The first output is, it consists of the table template. Table template means table structure with headings only. Data will be inserted by using another command. So a table structure is created. Along with that, another output is there. We will call it as a data dictionary. That means whenever we are creating using these DDL commands, DDL compiler will give output, two outputs. One is whatever the structure you are creating, that will be created. That is database schema or a table, whatever it may be. Along with that, data dictionary will be generated. Data dictionary contains metadata, that is data about data. This data dictionary provides us what is this database name, what is the primary key, what are the integrity constraints are there, and who can access this database. All these details are available in this data dictionary. Right? So this creates first a table format. A table structure is created first. Along with that, a table structure consists of the attribute names. Along with that, this data dictionary will also created. Because of this data dictionary, when accessing the database, RDBMS will first check the data dictionary, where the data was stored, where the database structure is there, according to that authorization details, etc. According to that, the database is going to be provided to various users. So to define your schema, database, etc., you are going to use DDL commands. The second category of language is data manipulation language, DML. DML stands for data manipulation language. This is a language used manipulation. Manipulation means to access already existing, access and manipulate, modify, which is already stored data. The data can be modifiable, deleted, or you can use these commands to store the data also. DDL command is created only structure, that is only format. What are the attributes are there? This DML commands introduces how the data is going to be inserted. That is the rows, tuples are introduced. Inserting the tuples, deleting the tuples, and rows, introducing the, inserting the rows, deleting the rows, or changing or modifying some part of the row, etc. These can be done through these DML commands, data manipulation language commands. In these DMLs are categorized into two categories. That is, procedural DMLs are there, declarative DMLs are there. Declarative or non-procedural. Procedural DMLs consists of user specifies what data is required only. And also how to get it also will be specified by the user group only. What data is required, how to get also. Both are specified by the user through these language commands. Non-procedural means user will specify what data is required without specifying the how to get it. How to get it will be done by the respective language compiler. Right? So that means these two kinds of languages, DMLs are there, procedural languages and non-procedural languages. Procedural languages are, the commands are statements of procedural languages specifies how the data is supposed to get and what data is also required. But declarative languages are a non-procedural language statement specifies only what data is required by the user group through these statements without specifying how to get it actually. Right? And SQL is most widely used language. I am specifying this SQL under DML. But it is not only DML. This SQL consists of all options. It consists of DDL commands. It consists of DML commands. It consists of QL, query language command. So what is query language actually? Query language means, query means questioning, retrieving. Right? Query language specifies how to retrieve the data from your database. Only retrieving. Strictly speaking, DML is manipulation. Query is considered as a only for retrieving data. But in general, when we are using for normal applications, this query language itself provides all kinds of statements. That is DDL, DML as well as retrieval statements. SQL is such a very efficient query language. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. Even though its name is query language, it consists of all various kinds of the statements are available. DDL are there, DML are there as well as query. All statements are provided in SQL. So SQL is widely used popular query language, using which you can define your database, you can modify your database, or you can access database, etc. As I specified previously, another category of languages is they considered as a data storage and definition language. It will specify how to define the data as well as it will specify how to store the data. That means it will be done at two levels, physical level as well as your conceptual level. The storage is going to be specified both physical level as well as the conceptual level. Such languages are known as data storage and definition languages. But we have so many categories here. While coming to the commercial languages, all of them are considered to be as a single language will include in the SQL, that is structured query language. Similarly, any other query language includes all kinds of the statements. Definitions, data manipulations, data storage, everything will be included in most of the commercial query languages actually. Directly by using these query languages, we can do certain things. That means we can access data or we can modify the data. But most of our applications need various processing must be applied, techniques must be applied on the data so that the results are going to be used by us for further analysis. So that's why I cannot write all of them by using a query language. So that's why generally we will use some host languages. Host languages means we will write the program in our higher level languages. We will write the program in our higher level. All applications are developed any of these higher level languages because we know how to write applications, logics in our languages. But where is data? The data is in our database. So that's why we will call it as a host languages. That means the program will be written in the language and the data will be accessed from your databases. So that's why these application programs are there. These application programs will access this data by using certain techniques. So how these languages are going to be developed actually? Program we are writing program in any C, C++, Fortran, Lisp, Java, Perl, Python, anything you can write. But it will provide a connectivity with your database. It will provide a connectivity with the database management system. So wherever data is required, data will be accessed from your database management system into the local variables. So the data is stored in your database. When it is requesting any data here, this data is going to be taken from the storage and it will be stored in this local variables. These local variables means in your program. These local variables are used by your application programs and it will be written according to logic. Efficient programs are going to be written by us. If you want, you can again rewrite your data into database also through these application programs. Right? So what is a host language? Host language is a completely a general language which gives no support for the data manipulation directly. Query language is a less general and a non-procedural and optimizable. It will access data directly. These two are integrated to develop our applications by using various techniques. By using APIs, application program interfaces, or by using database calls, etc. By using various techniques through these host languages. Host languages are the languages in which applications are developed, which are completely more generalized programs can be written by us, but in which the data can be accessed from the databases through these query languages, through application interfaces actually. Right? So, various kinds of such type of languages are used to develop applications, and almost all these languages will support to connect with your databases. That we'll discuss further at the time of discussing architecture in detail actually. As we discussed already, various users are using, various views are there, various users are there. Who are the categories of users? Whoever uses your database, those are known as users of database. Generally, these are categorized as application programmers. Application programmers means who will interact with your systems through data manipulation calls. They should know some language, high-level language, host language, in which they will develop the application programs. And also they should know how to access and modify the data from database through these languages. These application programmers need not know how the data internally stored in your database, but just they should know how to access data from your database through their application developed in any known language, high-level language. So whatever the reservation we are using, you are doing online shopping, the applications were developed by somebody else, we are using. Whoever uses those applications, those are known as naive users or end users. These users, the application programs are developed, no, those applications are used by us. For example, we are booking a ticket. We are considered as an end user or a naive user. We don't know how the application was developed. We don't know how internally it is interacting. But we know only some commands so that we can access. You are doing online shopping. You are a naive user actually. You know how to use it, that's all. But how it was developed, we don't know. Who developed? The application programmers are developed. The programs developed by application programs are used by all other kinds of users generally. Sophisticated users. These sophisticated users, they'll request a database. Some data can be retrieved by these sophisticated users through some query language. These users will know query language. That means they know how to write the query. As a naive user, we are writing select statement, etc. No, we are clicking and we are getting responses. But these sophisticated users will aware of certain query language and they know how to write the queries and they'll retrieve the data from your database. Specialized users. These specialized users will write some specialized programs, specialized applications, not general applications. Right? For example, you are rocket launching you are doing some space research programs here. The programs who are writing space related programs, they are specialized users. In that area, they are writing programs by using the databases supported by T. So, application programmers develop applications. Sophisticated users will access data from your database through some query language. That means they should know some query language. Specialized users will write specialized programs in their respective area. For example, geographical related database applications. Only those people can understand how to remote sensing data can be accessed or related to your space research applications. They are also using databases, but they'll write applications, specialized applications of in that area only. Naive users will only invoke one or more programs which are written by the application programmers through user interface screens actually. Clerical staff, all people will come. These database users are sometimes known as actors also. These database designers, database administrator, application programmers, end users, all these are directly using, no? So these are known as on scene. But behind this database, some people are there. Database management, because we are using Oracle, we are using SQL. That must be developed by somebody else, people like developers, right? So that's why these database management developers, operators and maintenance personals, tool developers, all these are considered as a behind the scene. You are using Oracle, but Oracle was developed by somebody else. Some set of people are there, group of people are there, right? So those people are also database, but they are behind the screen and behind the scene actually. Directly we are using. So that's why these users are known as on scene actually. Directly they are using actually. Right? So just now I explained you naive users, application programmers, sophisticated users, database users. And naive users use the application programmers. Application programmers write application programs. Sophisticated users use query tools and they'll access the data. Database administrator is a special user is there. That I'll discuss further. They'll administration. A special user is there. That special user is known as a database administrator. Database administrator need not be a single person, even though it sounds as a single user. It may be a team of people actually. Because just the creation of database is not sufficient. It has to be maintained properly. Who must be using your database? Security, to whom the authorization must be provided, authentication must be provided. All these must be handled by some people, right? So the person or a group of persons, depending upon the size of the database actually, if the database size is very large, team will be there. If it is not that much large, a single person will handle these things actually. So who is database administrator? Database administrator coordinates all the activities of the database system. That is the database creation, many other activities actually. He is or she is the whole and soul responsible person of this database creation as well as the maintenance also. The database administrator should have a good knowledge and understanding of the organization, that is the enterprise, its information, and also resources and also requirements. According to that only, he will properly admin or tune the database properly. So various tasks are there, various responsibilities are there for database administrator. Schema. What data must be stored in your database, what data must be excluded, that will be decided by our DBA only. So DBA is responsible to define our schema, to define the storage structures and access methods. That is internally how the data must be stored. What are the indexing techniques must be used. All these things are defined by our database administrator only. And schema and physical organization of modifications are also responsibility of the database administrator. And also database administrator is authenticated person who will provide the permissions for various groups of people, that is accessing or modifying permissions, granting permissions to maintain the security of the database is responsibility of the database administrator. As part of that, the granting permissions also database administrator responsibility, and also specifying integrity constraints and implementation of integrity constraints also database administrator responsibility. And he is a mediator between users and our database users actually. And also every time he is supposed to check whether the database is performance is properly. Performance means if more users are using database, the speed can be reduced sometimes. All of us are having such experience. When the results are out, let us assume that in your MSET results or intermediate results, etc., then we may not access database very effectively that much faster actually. Performance tuning means even it is at a peak load. Peak load means all maximum users are using our database. Then also it's supposed to provide the same efficient accessibility of the data. Then the database is more effective actually. That is the monitoring of the performance of the database and responding to the changes in the requirements according to the requirements of the organization requirements. Immediately the changes have to be carried out in our database. All these are responsibilities of the database administrator. Like that, various kinds of users are using our database actually. These users will support us how the database is going to be used, and database administrator will monitor tuning and balancing of the database usage, optimization of the database usage also by this database administrator. So how this database administrator will take care of how the data internally a database stores, what is the various architectures are there for database management system, what are the various components of this architecture, that we'll discuss in the next section. Have a good day.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.